Good morning, everyone. And I am on. Good morning. Happy Monday. Happy Monday, everyone. I'm back. I apologize. I took a few days off last week. Not because I didn't care, but I needed some space. Needed space. I needed some space to think, to reflect and ask myself what the message I wanted to bring to you guys really was. So, welcome back. My name is Coach Lacey. This is Rise and Shine with Morning Moon. If you haven't already, please be sure to hit the subscribe button, the follow, wherever you're finding me here in the big, beautiful interweb world. And it's Monday, and I am just reflecting on the last week. I usually show up every day for my show, and I think Wednesday I kind of fell off, and I felt bad about it, and I wondered if anybody noticed if I didn't go live, and if anyone actually missed the show, like if anybody even gives a shit or if anybody even listening. So if you're listening, I really want to thank you, and I just want you to know that I'm going to keep showing up. And I remembered why I actually started doing this, and it wasn't because of the numbers, and it wasn't for people, you know, um, the applause or anything. It was for those who do listen, and even if it's just one person, even if it's just my dad. I started this show because I was grieving. I was just sad, and I was watching people that I love grieve. And my friend, her son killed himself, and as most of you know who follow me, my brother took his life in 2017. And I was just watching my own friend, her son took his life at the same age my brother took his at 17 years old. And having gone to high school with her, having been really good friends with her at 17, it really hit me. It really hit me to think about that loss of life at such a young age. And so I showed up because I was watching people, including myself, just be sad, and people I love drown just quietly in their pain. And I have done a lot of work, to move through much grief. I've lost 7 people in less than 7 years. I've lost more than that, but really significant people that I love. Um, and I started this show because I didn't want to keep pretending everything was fine. And I wanted to show up real and raw and show everyone who my heart is, and um, so that they could find their own again. I was throwing a ladder in a dark hole, in the rabbit hole, so to speak, so you can climb up out of it. And I made myself a promise to myself and to whoever you are watching this show, that I would show up and speak truth. And so and so here I am today again. And I've made a promise that even when it's hard, and even when I don't feel like it, um, even when I don't know what I'm going to say. And that was the case last week. I didn't really, know what to say, because sometimes I feel like I've covered it all, or maybe nobody's listening. But the truth really is that there's just power in showing up and having presence. And even if I'm here to just give this word and say, hi, I'm here and I'm sitting with you, and this is what I'm reflecting on today, and there's healing for me in showing up even when I don't want to, and just combating those excuses, because sometimes they come up in your head. They're dressed up lies that we tell ourselves to avoid the discomfort of commitment, you know and um we get caught up. There's this um Jocko Willink mantra that I love, and it's coupled with some music from Akira the Dawn, and you can find it on YouTube. It's called All Excuses Are Lies, and he says all excuses are lies. These are the things that we tell ourselves so that we can take the easy road and leave the rest behind. And these are the things like I'm too tired, or it doesn't matter, or no one's watching anyways, who cares? Like nobody cares. Those were my excuses. And that is my own fear of showing up, and um my laziness essentially, and discomfort of just committing. And I was, you know, leaning into those lies, and I'm done leaning into those lies. And I'm sure that there will be days where I wobble, we all wobble, but there is the leveling up and the growth. There's so much growth to be had in consistency and leaning into the things we don't want to do. So I'm here, I'm showing up, and I've been contemplating, what messages I wanted to bring. And today my heart again is heavy. There is I don't know if any of you who are watching this who have seen my posts on Facebook, but there is a veteran in our community whose family is just going through it right now, facing something tragic. He made a really bad decision, and momentary lapse of reason. I don't know. No one knows the details. He had three little girls. Him and his ex-wife had three little girls, and he was on a custody plan. And he showed up to take the girls for their regularly scheduled visit, and he never returned them. And no one has heard from him. His phone is shut off. It's become national news, and all of my friends are connected to this family. I've met these people in passing. He is a veteran in our veterans community. My husband is a veteran, and we have gone through a hell of a lot with his conditions and his PTSD. And I have a tender heart of mercy for these people. Like, I see where things could have gone wrong. Like, I see where he could have been so sad and so broken without answers, and not thinking clearly, and thinking that, maybe he wanted to have more time with his children, or maybe he didn't communicate properly that he was going camping, or maybe he thought that he wanted to have one last good, weekend with them, and then disappear, and have that momentary lapse of reason. I don't know. None of us know. And my mama heart is hurting for that mom, because my God, like I can't even imagine. I know what it feels like to be like, what is happening? And I really, my heart goes out to her so much, and I'm praying for her in constant prayer for this family. I can't even imagine with my babies, I can't even imagine this mom and this heart of these family, and this whole situation is just absolutely tragic. And these moments and the lapses of reason, they come, they come so suddenly, but they don't come from nowhere. They do come suddenly, but they don't come from just out of nowhere, right? They just come from years of pain, and not addressing that pain, and not anchoring in, and years of trauma and silent suffering, and waking up in the middle of the night with memories, you really didn't ask for, and just trying to act normal when your body and your mind are just stuck in fight or flight, and it just feels impossible, and I've lived through some of that with my own trauma and with my husband's trauma, and I've watched the toll of PTSD that can take the toll that it takes on a man who has been through war, on a man who has once led through strength, and who is so certain of themselves, and I personally have learned intimately what it means to feel like something is impossible to get through, and extend grace when the situation is extreme and dire. It takes it takes extreme patience, and like it takes unrealistic patience. Unrealistic patience to extend grace when you are dealing with uh, chaos. And it doesn't matter if the person has seen war or massive trauma, but people who carry these invisible wounds, people who don't know how to say, I'm hurting, and then address those, and anchor in, and do the work, and go in circles, and live in ruts, you know, um, You can't just deal with their chaos and love them the way that the world tells you to. The world says to cut off toxic people and just let them stew in their shit and sit in their shitty diaper, and I don't believe that. I believe that it takes unrealistic patience and love and forgiveness, and forgive the things that would break other people and forgive those moments of momentary lapse of reason and but not excusing. Forgiveness doesn't excuse the behavior. You must address the behavior and you must address the root cause. You have to believe that people can get better even when they don't believe it themselves. And that is what grace is. That, in a nutshell, is what grace is. And it doesn't grow in shallow soil. It's not something that's just, it happens. It's something that you cultivate. It's something that you cultivate, and it takes time and tools and faith and love and you know, it takes grit and tenacity and other, worldly, um, just surrender. And it almost takes ethereal intervention sometimes for things to turn around, you know. And my husband and I, we were lucky. We found support in places like acupuncture and equine therapy and naturopathic medicine, counseling, somatic release, rest, anchoring in, all the things. Like, we did the things, and it has been years. I'm talking years, like 7 years of shared trauma bonds and shared bullshit and chaos, lots of chaos. Like, if you only knew the things that my husband and I have been through, people would wonder how we're still together. And times, I'll be honest, sometimes I wonder that too. And sometimes we have our days where it's like, why are we still doing this? But we do it out of love and out of respect for the bond we've built, and out of wanting to help each other become a better person. And so together we extend grace, and together we heal, and together we anchor in, right? And sometimes we're disappointed and we have to try again. But it just takes love and grit and grace, really. I mean, and I'm not sharing these things to be like, oh, look at us and look at what we've done, because we're not perfect and we have our moments and there are things. But if you're struggling today and you're in a chaotic storm and you're having moments of, momentary lapses of reason where you're considering detrimental ideations, I want to tell you that healing is possible, and extending grace is worth practicing, even if it's to yourself, and having grace to yourself. And if you're around someone that's hard to love and they're fucking difficult, they usually need it the most. They usually need that shit the most. And if it's you, then you need it. So if you are discouraged, or you're holding on to someone who is struggling, if your plan isn't panning out as you thought it might, and your emotions are big and you just feel like it's a fucking lot, and you're just, anchor in, anchor in. This is my mantra. This is my sauce. This is everything that I teach. Anchor in, drink your water, eat something real, move your body, step outside, speak gently to yourself and to others. Extend grace, surrender, ask God, how can I extend grace today? How can I help others and get outside myself, even in this chaos? How can I serve? Because the reality is, we don't need more perfect people in this world. We just need people who are willing to serve and surrender and hold on with grit, and hold space when the shit hits the fan, when it gets ugly. To sit with the broken, to say, I am here. I see you. I feel you. I'm not leaving. I'm here. And if you're grieving loss today in any way, shape, or form, be it through loss of life, loss of relationship, loss of time, I see you. I feel you. You know, you're not alone. Pain doesn't disqualify you from healing or being used for good and serving. Sometimes that is the reason you're called. So show up, when we show up, we speak life and we keep showing up and we anchor in. That is how we level up, and that is how we create a generational ripple effect that extends through lifetimes and leaves the legacy. And that's how we make changes in the world. So let's rise together. Let's shine despite the darkness and anchor in. And if you need help, I'm here for you. If you need a guide, a coach, a safe place to process, reach out. I'm here for that. Go to my website, www.laceyjwatson, and drop an application today. And I'll work with you wherever you're at in the world, wherever you're at in your finances, wherever you're at in your mental health state. I will work with you and we'll figure something out. But the world doesn't need to stop because you're in the storm. Have a beautiful Monday. I will see you tomorrow. Anchor in, everyone. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Ciao.